Buddy. So good to be back. It's been a week, and I have to say, it just blew by. I can't believe it's already here. Now I'll be flying out later today, and I'll be back in 3 weeks. I'm going to be here the last 2 weeks of September, just so everybody knows where we're at. But I won't see you on Zoom. You'll see me on Zoom next weekend. All right, I do want to start off just by saying Happy Labor Day. Really, it's the laborers that bring the food out of the fields into the processing places where it gets into the stores and where people sell it and where people build the buildings, the stores, all of that. It's really the laborers that keep this world spinning. So thank you to those that do. Okay, so this is going to be a fun month. Pieces into peace. Rising from pieces into peace. So I'm pretty confident in saying that everybody that's in this room, everybody that's watching online, at some point in the future, you're going to find yourself in that place where it feels like your life has fallen to pieces. I don't mean to be like a doomsayer or what, but we know it's part of life. So on that note, starting off really pretty heavy right off the bat, I did want to bring in this cartoon. It says, "Today I will live in the moment, unless the moment is unpleasant, in which case I will eat a cookie." And if I made the cartoon, it doesn't matter whether the moment's pleasant or unpleasant, I'm still opting for a cookie if that's an option. So, always put the cookie. Okay, so that idea, right? Life just includes pain. That's a Buddhist kind of tenet, is that pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional, which easier said than done, but definitely possible. And that's what I love about spirituality. I love about Centers for Spiritual Living, is because we take the spiritual ideas, we draw on something bigger than ourselves in order to make our lives more livable. And that's what we're talking about today. So I really love when spirituality gets pragmatic and practical, something that we can use and improve our life situations, improve the life situations of those around us. So yes, at some point, whether we make a poor choice and a poor decision that lands us in a spot where our life feels like it's in pieces, or maybe it's we're in the wrong place at the wrong time. Maybe it's when we're grieving the loss of a loved one. We're gonna find ourselves at times where we just don't know how to carry on. It feels like our life's falling into pieces, like the world's falling into pieces around us. Now, when we're in that spot, there's lots of things that we want. But what I'm trying to lead to here is there's one thing that I know in my case I want more than anything when I'm in that situation. So some of the things that we might want resolution for the situation. We might want justice. We might just want the grieving to end already, or whatever it is. We want all these different things. But what I think all those things point to in that moment when we're in the pieces is what I want is relief. I need relief. Now that relief tends to come from those things that we do. I want resolution, so I might take action to try to connect with where the situation fell apart with whoever was involved and try to create something there. I might go through Elizabeth Kubler-Ross and the 5 stages of grief. I might process intentionally working through that. And all of those things I noticed in my life before I became intentional about this is that I would find the relief, but it was kind of over time as we take those steps, when we're ready, when we start to move this direction, we start to find the relief in little pieces. But for me, most of the time, I never have a click when I'm realize oh, I'm in relief now. It's kind of a gradual thing. But what we're looking at today, from pieces into peace, is to create that relief a lot more quickly, even if it's just temporary, even if it's a tiny moment in time, but to get into that place where we can find relief for right now. And the gift of that is if we can get ourselves into a state of relief, even if it's for 5 minutes, we've broken that momentum. We've disrupted that flow of our life being in pieces, and now we're going to be able to see a little more clearly. So those things that I want to do that will lead to relief, they become a little easier when my mind is clear and when I'm not activated in that moment. You know, the old saying, like, don't type angry. You know, when something comes across your radar and your quick reaction is like, the nerve of that person, I'm just going to let them have it. Don't type angry. Take a minute. But if we can go and find that peace first, clarity comes. This is, to me, like this is one of the greatest gifts of this teaching. So, you know, that peace, it's within. Any given moment, this is one of the things I loved about Eckhart Tolle, that he said, you know, you can find that peace within anytime you want. It doesn't matter what's going on in your life. It could literally be in pieces and flames. But within you, if you can take a second and just ask yourself, like, in this present moment right now, can I be okay? And so what it takes is moving perfectly into this present moment. So yes, okay, there's fires burning over there. There's that other thing that I messed up. It's over there. I'm going to have to deal with it at some point. But for right now, in this very moment, can I just be still? Like right now, I'm not at risk. Right now, nothing can harm me. So right now, in this moment, I can be at peace. Again, it's one of those, it's easier said than done, especially when we're in that activated state. But there's something to it. Jesus, one of my favorite teachers, pointed us towards the idea that the kingdom of heaven is within. All spiritual teachers that I am aware of, they all direct us to go within. Heaven's not a place out there that we magically travel to when we make our transition. It's a state of mind. It's right here within us. And we can tap into that just by going quiet, however you like to do it. So I want to kind of create an image of what I do when I need to find that peace within. And I have my place. It's inside, it's within, and I'm going to describe it in a minute, but I'll also point out that my place might not work for you. And so as we kind of like open up into this a little bit, I invite you to open up your heart, open up your mind, and see like what speaks to you within. Because like when I describe my peace place, my wife's like, no, that sounds kind of scary. She does not like my peaceful place. And that's okay because we all have our own images. So my peaceful place, when I want to drop into that silence and that still and that calm, my body transforms in my mind. I can see myself crossing my legs. And I both simultaneously have my hands resting here, and I also simultaneously have them out here just kind of stabilizing me. As my legs are crossed and I'm floating, levitating above, it's a perfectly calm, flat water. I'm in a cave. It's a low ceiling cavern and it goes very far. And it's pitch black, but I can see. There's a little red glow. It's just so still in my mind. And I've gone there so many times that I can think it, and I'm there. That place works for me. Some people, might want like a nature scene, maybe in the grassy plains out in Wyoming where I come from, or it could be sitting atop of a snowy mountain peak. Whatever it is, what speaks to you? That's like your home. That's something that's within you that nobody can ever take away. It's always there for you. You can decorate it however you want. the more that you're able just to feel and be still in your place, you're tapping into that kingdom of heaven that is within. It's a vibration and it's a way of being. Now, one other thing that's really important is, so while I said everybody in this room, at some point you're going to find yourself in one of those moments. It's inevitable. And some of you might be in that moment now. And so if you haven't done work like this before, it's a good time to step into it and just experiment and kind of play with it. Just going within, it sounds like meditation. And a lot of times when people hear that word of meditation, they're like, oh, nope, I can't do that. I can't do that. I don't know how. My mind is too busy. This, while it can work with meditation, I want to call this just simply imagination. Imagination is one of our greatest gifts, one of our greatest tools. And so by finding that peace within, especially at the beginning, your imagination is what brings it alive. I often refer to this. There was one of my favorite books that kind of explained what my feeling or helped me hammer down or nail down what my definition of God is from the books by Neil Donald Walsh called Conversations with God. And he talked in there, so he's having a dialogue with God, and he asks a question, and then he writes God's answer. And it was, how do I know that your answers aren't just my imagination? And God said, why wouldn't I use your imagination? I would use every tool I can to communicate. That's what I believe our imagination is. It's that deeper part of ourselves that says, hey, maybe this, maybe it's this, until you find like, oh, I bet it is that. And so in that beginning, just knowing that there's that place of stillness within you, and then just being open to like, can I be in it? Whether it's your imagination or not, if it brings that sense of relief from that time of being in the pieces, who cares? If it works, who cares? Now, me, I'm a believer, so I'm convinced that's how Spirit works through us. And where I was leading up to all of that was, if you're in that place now, it's kind of like trial by fire to try these techniques. But if you're not in that place, I was talking with somebody earlier who they're like in a pretty good place in their life right now, and they're like, maybe that's why I'm not coming around as often, is because things are going pretty good. So a lot of times when the challenges come up, we're like, oh man, I got to do something, and that's when, people find centers for spiritual living is when they need a little help. But then when things start to go good, then we kind of can forget. That's also the time to practice, to do these things. Making a point when things are good, to sit down and go find that peace within and go be within that peace. It makes it easier each time you do it. We're building those pathways in our head. It's just like if you're walking through that prairie and you go into the same place every day. You go one day and come back, and you might, trip on some weeds, but those pulled out. The next day, those weeds aren't there. The path is a little easier. It's the same thing in our minds. We have neural pathways, and the thoughts that we have create these roads where those thoughts flow easier and easier. The challenging habits that we have do the same thing. Maybe I would call it more of a rut than a path. But that's how our brains works. And so when we can find that peace and that calm in our moments that things are going well, I'm convinced that I have less moments that don't go well when I'm doing that regularly, because I know my mind is more clear. And so I'm going to make less mistakes. I'm going to make less poor choices. And at that same time, I'm building those pathways. So when something hits me, and I don't know what to do, and I'm feeling like my life is falling into pieces, there I am in my cave. I can take a minute and just disrupt that energy in order to choose higher thoughts of what I want to be. Now, I kind of gave you a description of what my visual is. Not everybody sees visually. Ernest Holmes. I'm going to read a pretty long quote, and this is from a book called This Thing Called You, and there's a picture of Ernest Holmes on the screen for anybody that may not be able to see it. And he's standing I'm guessing those are California hills, and he was the founder of this philosophy. So he said, when you become confused, stop and listen to your inner calm. Turn from the confusion to that deeper something within and say, I am submerged in peace. I am surrounded by peace. I am immersed in peace. There is nothing but peace. Peace. Deep, calm, undisturbed. So maybe it's words that help you get to that place. Maybe it's a mantra. I love with the mala beads that are hanging up here. Just doing each bead, I am peace. I am peace. When we say something enough, it creates that vibration within us, and we begin to create that, and it begins to manifest. And then at some point, the more that we do this is why they call it spiritual practice, is because we do it over and over and over again. But we start to create that. We become that vibration, which so many modern day teachers, they're very big on this idea of vibration. You're holding a frequency. You know, all of our cells going down to the subatomic particles, we're blinking in and out of existence all the time. That's our vibration. And if we're thinking thoughts of peace over and over, that shifts into our physiology. We feel peace in our bodies. We feel peace around us. And we're greater able to facilitate peace. We're able to, when we get into those moments that we might start to fall to pieces, to catch it and say, I've been here before. I know I'm going to get through this again. I'm going to find that peace now. And we all come to it in our own time and in our own way. But it is a powerful thing. And what I'm saying about these like modern day teachers that talk about this vibration, I'm going to go back to another quote by, I believe Jesus said this. I'm not sure, but I know it's in the New Testament where it says, seek ye first the kingdom of heaven, and everything else shall be added to you. That vibration. When we can be in that vibration, we are instant manifestors. What we need is there for us. We don't lack in anything. What we want to see out there is what we are. And so that's what we're looking at all month long, is really being that peace that's within. Okay, so if anybody watched the teaser this week, I brought up a quote, and it's going to be our spiritual principle for this week. It is, we believe the ultimate goal of life to be a complete freedom from all discord of every nature, and that this goal is sure to be attained by all. So what this means to me, that freedom from discord doesn't mean that the discord doesn't happen. It just means that we are not constrained by it or controlled by it. When we learn to recognize, like, this is what happens, this is life, and I'm in it, this has already happened, I can't change it, how can I be in harmony of it? So asking, like, what could the good be that can come out of this? And just even asking that, it shifts something within us. If I look back over my life, at all those times when my life felt like I was in pieces, I can see something positive that came out of it. I can see where it provided specific growth for something that I needed later in life. I really can't look back and see anything and say there was no gain there. And so that freedom from discord just means it doesn't control us. And we're all sure to achieve that goal, even if it happens, maybe at our transition. Maybe it happens in another lifetime if that's what your belief system takes you to. But that's powerful. So our spiritual practice that I want to encourage us to lean into this week, it's just peaceful imagination. Just using taking time and just sitting. Don't call it meditation unless you want to. It works well with meditation, and meditation works well with imagination, but just giving yourself time to just center in, taking a breath, and just imagining that place within you that is that spark of life that is infinite, and see where it takes you, and see what it is able to shift in your mind. And then we do have a affirmation that I will read it once, and then we can all read it together. It is, I easily tune into the peace at the center of my soul. So if you're in alignment with this, I invite you to join me as I say, I easily tune into the peace at the center of my soul. Maybe one more time with some heart. You had heart, but let's just feel it again. I easily tune into the peace at the center of my soul. That's the essence of what we are. And I wanted to finish with this idea, like that we carry this with us. And this is from Thich Nhat Hanh. He says, every breath we take, every step we make can be filled with peace, joy, and serenity. And that's from a book he wrote in 1990 called Peace is Every Step. I had to look it up because if that's not a line from the Police and Sting, except that's every breath you take, every step you make. But I had no idea that Thich Nhat Hanh was a Sting fan, so I think that's pretty awesome. Can't go wrong with Sting.
Got that right.
So this is our gift to the world, is to get to take this peace that's within us, become familiar with it, become second nature with it, so we can be it when we need it. And we can cultivate it when we don't need it. And we can be there for others when they need it, and we can draw on others when we need it from them. And when we just recognize that we all have that thing within us at the core of our being, everything else will be added unto you. So that being said, let's take it within and just acknowledge that there is one infinite presence that is life with a capital L, that is that same life force that runs through each and every one of us here, each and every one of us listening, every one of us that's in our own place in the world doing our own thing today. There is only one consciousness, one mind that is operating in all aspects of life, and we each get to do that individually with free will. We each get to choose what we want to vibrate as, what we want to bring into the world, and what we want to be in the world. So today, I choose peace. I look to the center of my being, into that still, small voice place, and just acknowledge that there is that only one life, and that I am it, and so I offer thanks for being that. I offer thanks for every experience on this planet that I get to participate in. I give thanks for every unique individual out there that's interacting in my world to influence the experience I have, knowing that we are all working perfectly together in this melodrama of life, and that it is our growth and our expansion that leads us back to where we come from, to what we are, to what we are here, remembering that we are. Remembering as peace. So I affirm and avow that as we go throughout this week, our imaginations whisper to us. We can remember and direct ourselves to lean into that imagination. And we can bask and settle into that warmth, that comfort, that peace that resides within, making life more fuller and richer, knowing every experience is a gift. So may we all carry that peace in our hearts as we go forward throughout this week. May love with the capital L remind us God is love, love is God, and we are that. So in gratitude for each and every person on their own journey, gratitude for the law, the creative mechanism of the universe that takes our words and our thoughts and our actions and makes it manifest for one another. I say thank you for that. And I simply release these words into the ethers, knowing that it is a joy to behold as we unfold more and more peace upon this planet. And if you're in agreement with me, let's affirm that by saying, and so it is. So it is.